Hi, I'm James Brunage from StartAutomy, and today I'm going to introduce you to ShowUI. We're going to get started by downloading ShowUI from showui.codeplex.com. And we're going to extract it to Documents, Windows PowerShell Modules. I'm going to open up the integrated scripting environment. And I'm going to go ahead and import module ShowUI. Now ShowUI takes all of the complexity of WPF, all these long type names you're seeing flash in front of your eyes right now, and it turns them into very simple and easy to use commands in PowerShell. Like Windows controls label becomes new label. It also adds parameters for common scenarios, and it adds a number of commands to make life a lot easier. And so what you can do in ShowUI is you can produce UI in a fraction of time and effort as a regular developer would. Let's walk through a few of the examples on the website. The simplest one is Hello World. And Hello World is only a few lines. Well, one actually. It's an alias label that quotes Hello World, and the show parameter will actually pop up a dialog. There we go. If I actually wanted to run this in the background, I can use the asJob parameter instead. Now, for people that are familiar with the preceding UI frameworks, PowerBoots or WPK, this is probably a little bit old hat. So let's show something a little bit cooler. Let's build a quick front end for getCommand. Now what this is going to do is it's going to populate a dictionary, getCommand input, and I'm going to use splatting, which just takes a dictionary and uses it for each parameter to provide a front end for a command. Here we go. Now as you can see, I have a few of the parameters exposed very easily. The text command name here has been turned into a label command name. Because it's in a uniform grid, everything is just automatically showing up on the right spot. So the command name shows in the first column, the text box goes in the next column, the verb goes in the first column again, text box in the next column, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to search for any command with the verb new in module ShowUI. And I'm going to click Get Command here. And there we go. It actually gives me all the commands that match those parameters, just simply by splatting them along down. If I look at Get Command input, I have the parameters still, and I can actually recall those parameters. Another much cuter example is the same sort of thing with getEventLog. There's a built-in command in ShowUI called selectDate. And this is going to go ahead and actually give us a nice little date time view that we can flip through. So I'm going to go pick up all the event logs since the beginning of this month from the application log. Pretty awesome, right? So in about 13 lines of script, I can create something that very simply asks for user input, and then I can use that to collect the user input and run PowerShell. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the first example in more detail to show a little bit about how the magic works. And then I'm going to very much encourage you to go on your own and explore ShowUI. So, the first one's made up of a uniform grid. A uniform grid's a built-in control, and it basically will put every item in the grid in order depending on a given number of rows and columns. If you don't give it a number of rows and columns, it finds the nearest square. So if you put 16 items in, it'll arrange them in a nice square. If you put 17 items in, it'll try to fit them in a square of 25. One of the nice improvements about ShowUI versus preceding frameworks is that it'll actually take some text and it'll actually try to add that as a label. So just by putting the quotes command name here, I'm putting a label command name. And by putting a text box with the name, I'm actually going to get a variable in any event handlers, like onClick down here, that contains the value of the name control. Verb is just a header in the same way, and text box is each all work in the same way on down. And just because I don't want the get command button to look on one side, I actually put an empty quote here to add some empty space. So then I do new button, and new button is a wrapper for WPF buttons. It will allow you to create something nice and clickable, and I put get command in there. And when they click it, I get the parent control. Now the parent control is a new thing for ShowUI. It basically goes and it looks up and it finds the top level window or the nearest thing with the control name. In this case, get input for get command. Set UI value is another new thing for ShowUI, and what it does is it goes and it collects everything that you have already set in text box or in a custom control with a given name, and it creates one big dictionary of that. And pass-through is going to return back that parent control, and then close control is going to close it. And what these three lines do are get the top level control, make sure that it gets set to a value, or make sure it updates its value, and closes it out, which leaves us with just what's in get command input. So ShowUI is significantly easier to use than pure WPF. In regular WPF, you'd have several files just to denote what you see here. You'd have a build file that would tell you what all dependencies the project used, even though it didn't really use anything special. You'd have a click handler in a separate file, then a XAML file. You'd have a lot of junk. And in this, you have 16 lines to get a quick little bit of user input. Most of the cases that you're going to need to interact with a user in PowerShell, you're just needing to create quick little dialogues. And ShowUI makes quick dialogues really, really simple and easy to make. It's not all it does. In fact, it actually provides a number of other improvements to the core WPF framework. But that is a more complicated subject. So for today, I'm just going to introduce you to some of the features or the core features of ShowUI. Again, these are the quick little 13 and 16 line input controls for commandlets. And I'm going to encourage you to go download this from showui.codeplex.com and get started playing. Please have fun, and I hope this helps.